reference in Luke chapter 16. And I'm going to tell you a personal story where I considered making a plan to commit suicide, of all things. And we're going to dive into this today. We're going to cover a lot of information and all this in hopes to shed some light, to be a source of light to you, wherever you may be in your life's journey, so that you can find joy and prosperity. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Eyner Nielsen. I am a father of six, disciple of Christ, and after 23 years of battling mental illness, I'm on a mission now to give hope and prosperity to disciple dads. And it's a great honor to be here on this live today with you. And moving forward, I'm planning to do this on a daily basis at 9:15 a.m. And grateful to be here. So, first of all, let's start off with Luke's chapter 16, as I promised. Luke's chapter 16, I love this chapter. It has three different acts, if you will. The first act is the Lord uses a parable of a man who is of the world, if you will. He's a steward over a great estate, and he finds word that he's going to get the boot. So what does he do? He goes and gets all of his accounts that he had been in steward over and gets them all squared away. If someone owed him 80 bushels of wheat, he said, hey, give me 50 and we're good, etc. And went through all the different accounts and got everything squared away. And as a result of that, the Lord said of this man that the people of this age, referencing those of the world, of the laws of success, they have greater wisdom than the children of light. The children of light. So here there are men and women who understand that they are sons and daughters of the Most High, and they have these great spiritual impressions, but they do not have their financial house in order. And that is a reprimand, I believe, in Luke chapter 16, where he's saying, after that verse, he has saying, complimenting this steward who became wise, who was a man of the world, if you will. After complimenting him, he then goes on to say, and in chastening those children of light, he then says, ye ought to be friends with mammon. Now, what does that mean? What are we talking about here? Friends with mammon. What in the world? So, a couple of side note references here. So, in the New Testament, we also learned that the root of all evil is the love of money. Well, to have a love of money is essentially to serve money, to make money your master. And that is not how the children of light work. The laws of success may teach you that. They'll teach you how to be a good and honorable man of the earth, an Andrew Carnegie, if you will, a Rockefeller, if you will. But are we here to gain all the glory of the world and lose our soul in the process? No. We want to be more than good and honorable men of the earth. We want to be valiant in our testimony. We want to make an impact in the world. And to do that, our Master, Jesus Christ, teaches us that we need to be friends with mammon. Doesn't mean to serve mammon. Doesn't mean that make mammon our master, but you got to be friends with it. And if you're friends with it, then you learn how to use it, how to be a wise steward over it, and how to make an impact of good with it. Because money is neutral, and money will help you to multiply who you are and what you are. And the more access you have to it, the more you put into circulation, the more returns, and the more you can bless other people's lives. And then the more you can be free with your substance. And I'm not talking about just giving money away, but giving away your how-to get the money, how to make an impact in other people's lives, how to become a wise steward over the resources you have access to. So, but the Savior doesn't end there. So Act 2 is basically a chastisement. It's of like, hey, be friends with mammon people, sons of light, be friends with mammon. It's not, spirituality is wonderful, and all things are spiritual unto God. but it also comes with an abundant life. And if you're not living in an abundant life, something's amiss, because we need to be friends with mammon. We can't say, oh, no, no, I'm too good for that. No, 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 I don't want any of that. Because in order to have a Zion society, a society where there is no poor among you, you can't have a bunch of poor people. You got to have abundance and give freely with your abundance, so that all may be rich like unto you. So he says, be friends with mammon. And then he goes on to say, you can't serve two masters. So Act 2 is, hey, be friends with mammon, but don't serve two masters. And it's meaning with your eye has to be single to the glory of God. And when your eye is single to his glory, all things work together for your good. All things. That includes your finances. That includes your relationships. That includes your health. Everything comes together and works in your favor, works in your good, when your eye is single to his glory. Whereas if you make money your glory and you serve money, then you may get all the money in the world, but if you lose your soul, that is nothing for you. So, having said all of that, it's the third act is when he takes an example of a story within the story of a man who had this great wealth. He had the purple robes, he had the great mansion, he had the great feasts, and the dogs and a man named Lazarus with many sores would the dogs would lick the Lazarus sores, and Lazarus would eat the scraps with the dogs from this great wealthy man's funding. So he uses this analogy to then show that when the wealthy man and Lazarus both die, they both are put toward in the heavenly space. And one of them is engaged with and living with the prophets, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, while the other is in a burning fire, where he is, he's like, this stinks. This is horrible. And who was that? The one that's in the burning space was the one who had this great wealth. He had sold his soul for the great wealth. He had got lost in the service of money and forgotten that he was a son of God, and that he had divine potentiality, and that there's more to life than just this life. There's more to life. It is eternities. We are here to learn how to be like Abba and to worship the Lord Jesus Christ with an eye single to the glory of God. And when we do that, then we have abundance, and we have not only peace in this world, but you have peace in the eternities, and you have increase in the eternities, rather than just being a good and honorable man of the earth, which is good and it's honorable. Have your name plastered on some libraries is awesome. You're doing good. You're helping serve other people. You're bringing oil to, like the Rockefellers did, bring oil to the common person, making it so they can all have light in their homes, or steel to the average Joe, so that they can make life more abundant on this planet. That's good and honorable, but there's more to being life than being good and honorable. You got to stretch beyond and above that. So, so the third act of this Luke chapter 16 is the Lord suggesting to the mind that those that get lost in the service of money and lost in the great wealth and forget who they are after they have died, what happened to the rich man? Again, he was in this burning fire, and he said, Lord, would you just let Lazarus touch me? Like, let me dip my finger in his water, like just have a little bit of this burning taken away. And the Lord's like, no, Lazarus suffered, and you had the opportunity to serve him, but you didn't, because you loved your lucre more than him. And that is what it is. And he said, okay, well, will you please just tell my brothers and send someone to tell my brothers to change, and so that they're not suffering like I do. Hey, that's notable. That's commendable of him to think about his brothers. But the Lord says, no, not going to send angels to him. And I'm not going to raise someone from the dead for him like you've requested, because they have the prophets. They have the witnesses. They have the scriptures before them. They have all things that denote that there is a God. Nature denotes the God. Ecosystems denote that there is God. All of that teaches us that there is a God. And if they can't see that, they're not going to accept someone being raised from the dead and see that either. So, 3 acts. One is the wisdom of the laws of success, the wisdom of the ways of the world, in that you know how to handle your money, budget your money, and take care of your money, and be wise with your resources and your stewardships, multiply them and exchange them so that you can get more and you can be of better service to our Father in heaven. Act 2 is do that, but don't confuse that with having an eye single to the glory of God. You can't serve two masters. So, and Act 3 is if you do choose to serve money, woe unto you. Like, it's, what does it do for you at the end of the day? Yeah, it gets your name plastered. Yeah, you're good and honorable. But that's the end of your increase. You want increase in this life and in the worlds to come. So that's my three texts on Luke chapter 16. And now I want to dive into a little bit of the story of where I was 14 years ago. I'd graduated from college, and I did really well in college with the help of the community. It wasn't I did this all on my own. No, I had many people help me, because in the year 2000, and let's see, 2000, even 12 years prior to that, I was diagnosed with a mental illness, and it rocked my world. But with the help of modern medicine and the support of a community, and of course with God's help, I was able to return back to school after 3 years sabbatical and get married and start having children. And in 2012, I applied and went to MBA school. I had a business partner, and we were creating a blender company, and we had been promised millions of dollars in funding. And on that note, my partner, he said, "Kent, let's do MBA school and assure that you know how to run a business." And so I applied and went to MBA school, a nice school in the Midwest, and it was really expensive. It was 3 times more expensive than my alma mater would have been, and we felt good about it. So about a third of the way through the program, which would have been, I want to say January 2013, I hadn't seen the funding yet. Like, we were promised, this funding, and it hadn't come yet. And backspace to April 2012, I had heard an address by a leader of my faith who said, he had extended this invitation to pray for mountains to climb. And I had a strong impression I should do that, but I never did it. So fast forward again to this February of 2013, I finally took the courage to pray for mountains to climb. And it was just as promised in the thing. It was 2 or 3 days later. I was like, oh my goodness, what have I gotten myself into? Here I am with accumulated another $40,000 in debt for this graduate program. I have no funding that's been promised, and I have additional, I don't know, 60,000 for my undergraduate studies. So I have 100K in debt. I think I had 3 kids at the time, maybe 4, and I was 3 kids actually, and I was like, what in the world? No funding's coming. A business that we started is probably not going to happen. And here I am, accumulated 100 grand in student loans, and I don't know what I'm going to do to provide for my family, because the business that we were building, it doesn't seem to be coming to fruition. So I could stay in this program and accumulate an additional 80K, putting me almost 200K in debt, and work for corporate America in a cubicle somewhere, and one day pay that off, working for a job that I don't know if I'd enjoy, because I'd much rather be an entrepreneur. I was more entrepreneurially minded. So I was blown away. Like, I have all this debt. I don't know how to pay the bills. How, what do I do? And when I put that prayer, that for mountains to climb, that's when it really sunk in. And um, prior to that, I must admit, prior to this occasion, I had I had known someone who, someone very close to me had committed suicide, and when I probably, I don't know, 20 years prior to that, and I had studied what suicide meant in the scriptures and the best books, and essentially it was like self-murder. So I knew in my heart that I would never consider such a thing. But when I prayed for these mountains to climb and I got weighed in by this debt, I considered it. And fortunately, I confessed that to my support team, my wife, and she was, kind of shocked, and I took it to God in prayer and told him my situation. And but I never made an official plan, but that weight of the world was on my shoulders. Like, I had all this debt, and I thought, how could I ever pay this back? The most I'd made prior to that was, in a year, was probably, I don't know, $60,000. And that was in working in sales, where I had 3 or 4 months out of the year where I made 9,000 a month. And then the other three, the rest of the year wasn't so hot. So, um, so that was my experience. But I thought, I just couldn't comprehend how to pay for that extra 40K in debts. And um, as a result of that, my 5-year-old is having fun right now. Um, as a result of that, I considered, I considered suicide. And then in deep prayer, um, the Lord came, or not came, but the Lord whispered to me the idea of Isaac and Jacob, and not Isaac and Jacob, excuse me, Esau and Jacob, and how, um, I need to pause for a moment here. I have a boy who needs some attention. All right. Thank you for your patience. So, so I'm contemplating the suicide in a prayer. Consider this idea of selling one's birthright for a cup of pottage really rocked me, and it occurred to me that I was willing to give up my birthright as a son of God. I was considering giving it up over $40,000 worth of new student loan debt, because I couldn't comprehend making it. And the small idea that came to my mind was that you can make 40,000 in a short period of time. So that commenced this looking for a way to do that. And that was, 14, 13, or excuse me, 12 years ago, um, almost 12 years ago. And I, I've searched high and low. I'm like, how can I do this? How can I make great amounts of money in a short period of time? Because when I was 18, I had this dream of being a multimillionaire, and that was fed to me through a former manager of mine when I was working in the fast food franchise system. And so I had this dream of ultra wealth from my youth. And so now this turned from, oh my goodness, life needs to come to an end, to, oh, what are the possibilities? How can I prove that this is possible? So for the next 12 years, I've searched this job, I tried that job. I even went so much to do something that I vowed as a child I would never do. I would be a truck driver, and I did it for 30 days. My let's see, my fourth child was born while I was doing that, and um, it was tough. Times have been tough because I've got this dream of ultra wealth and have a family to provide for, but at the same time, because of a large family and because of amazing America that we live in, that provides opportunity, or that helps those that are under poverty level, which I had been for so many years, um, I was on the dole. And so I'm like, how can I break the system? How do I get out of this? So I tried this, I tried that, and then um, I ended up being an entrepreneur for many years, and I did a shuttle driving thing as an independent contractor, and it made great money during the ski season, and then it was just average, barely making it throughout the rest of the year. And I did that for a few years, and finally, and when COVID hit and essentially shut down the industry, I decided it's time to return to my root of sales. So I went to got a sales job, and it was the best job I ever had. I worked for a family, and it was family owned business, and I was on the sales floor, and I made consistent income every month, every week, consistent income. And with that, we paid down almost all of our student loans. And but I was still on the dole. I still had food stamps because my family was so large, and my income still was, I was making like $1,200 a week or something. So I've still had this urgency to want to break free so that I can buy my own home, so I could put a home for my family rather than living in a house that I'm renting from someone else and creating wealth for someone else. So I started hunting for another position, and the family I was working for called me into their office and essentially said, Kent, obviously this industry is not your passion. Here's a little extra money. Today's your last day. Here's your last check and a little extra money. Go find what you're passionate about. And last year, this was June of last year, I took that extra money and I paid a coach to teach me how to make some money, and to how to be a coach online, and started building a following, and started doing this thing that I thought was right. And by November, I had hemorrhaged all of my funding, all my savings, and I'd run out of cash. So I returned to my roots of shuttle driving, made a lot of money and over the ski season. And then what do I do? What do I do? I didn't know what to do. So I'm still trying to get things going as this coaching industry, and it just wasn't, ends weren't meeting. I wasn't getting any clients in. I was trying to help people to trim down and put their body square with the Lord so that he could help them trim down. And the thing, I had attracted many people and many followers, but it seemed to me that most of them were in situations like I was, in that they didn't have the funding to pay for a coach. They didn't have the funding to take their body seriously, and to pay someone to help them with their mindset, but they were struggling providing for their family, let alone try to pay someone to put their body in order. So I returned. I then, a friend of mine was killing it in the insurance industry. I went and worked with him, and I was torn. I'm like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't, because then I'm not creating content online, because I knew that I wanted to create content online. So I'm like, oh, let's do this. Let's create content online, et cetera, et cetera. And I, I struggled. I did it, didn't do it for 2 or 3 months. And finally, the end of July this year, 2024, I found a system that I've fallen in love with, and something that I have dreamt of, I would say for 50 years, but such a thing didn't exist 50 years ago. And I'm so grateful to the Lord Almighty, who has given me this path of this job, that job, this job, that job, this degree, that school withdrawn from, that has just brought me to a state of joy and happiness. And it's been tough. We've had some really tough years, and we have, my wife and I, that is, we have grown closer to each other over the years and learned what love is, learned what loyalty is, learned how to give and serve one another, and are still learning, and how to take care of 6 kids. And we homeschool them. And at the end of the day, what what are we looking for? We've been looking for a way to help us get into a home so we can provide for our children without government assistance, and do so in a manner that builds his kingdom, not work for someone else building their dreams and getting a cut of their dreams, but to have our own dreams and to make 100% of our own profit, and to create our own products, and to create our own system, and to be able to serve and lift our fellow man so that they can have this same joy that we've had. So I found that and go ahead and hit me with a comment and in the on this YouTube live, and just say yes, make a comment ready, whatever it may be, so that I can reach out to you. We'll connect at a deeper level. And you got to check out dadspaiddaily.com, because there is an automated system that I've put together with the help of a system that I bought. And it was under $1,000, and it just blew my mind that it was so affordable. And there's no additional fees, no additional, you know, like I don't have to pay for a coach. I don't have to pay for ads. I don't have to pay for yada, 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 all of it. Yeah, I have to buy my domain name for $15 a year and then the email account. Like, this is small potatoes compared to the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars I'd spent the previous year trying to get an online business going. Now, if you're looking for a way as a disciple dad to provide for your family at a low entry level point, and be able to turn that around to making 6 figures in 6 months or less, let's connect. Let's do this. You and I can make a difference in the world. We can share our talents and lift others. And the only way to lift others is to give back and to serve and get lost in the service of others, not in the service of money. We're friends with money, but we're not servants of it. But as we are friends with it and are wise stewards of it, and circulate it and put it into motion, it comes back and it allows you to do it again and again and again until you become a multimillionaire. The person I'm following, she became a self-made millionaire from zero to millionaire status in 17 months. And by 24 months, she made 2 million. And this blows my mind. And here she is. She gives all of her secrets away. All her community gives it away, essentially, when you buy into the automated system. It's mind-boggling, and it is beautiful. Excuse me. And it happens when you give selflessly, like she does. And I thank you for joining me today. I'm about out of breath, out of ideas and story. Not out of ideas, but it's an honor to be here online and in this space of creating content to give hope to people, because we all have battles, we all have struggles, and I'm striving to be more transparent with mine rather than just saying, hey, everything's hunky dory, and to show that there is a way for you to change. There was a way for you to transform, and it all starts with turning and making your focal point on the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And when you make him the mark of your life, when you make him the focus of your life, he will transform you. He will mentor you. He will help you become the man you were meant to be, the dad you were meant to be, so that you can provide for your family and share your talents with the world rather than trying to hide them, being afraid of what may or may not happen. To give, 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 so that you can give even more. So thank you for joining me today. Y'all have a beautiful day. We'll see you tomorrow, 9:15 a.m. Thanks.